Watch right now on the Front News Project. A naval battle in Crimea, unique footage. Ukrainian sea drones are destroying Russian helicopters. The Battle of Kursk, a battalion of North Koreans has been destroyed. The Ukrainian Armed Forces are advancing from 3 directions. From Zaporizhia, the Russians continue the genocide of the Ukrainian people. Fiery, hot, and blazing footage from the front lines. Watch right now. The bloody war continues. The war that Vladimir Putin and his pack have unleashed on Ukrainian soil. The heroic resistance of the Ukrainian Armed Forces and the entire Ukrainian people continues in their fight for freedom. Hello, this is Front News. Vladimir Timoshenko here for the next 30 minutes. You can expect the truth about the war, which our journalists are gathering from the hottest battle zones. So are you ready? Then we begin. And we start right away with exclusive material. These footage of the naval battle will go down in history. For the first time in the world, an unmanned sea drone, Magura, shot down a crewed military helicopter right from the water. And not just one. We learned about this unique operation of the Ukrainian GUR this week. The video is now being thoroughly examined by weaponry specialists, drone operators, and military pilots from various countries and continents. How did Ukrainians manage to surprise the world again, and what can we expect next? The GUR members exclusively told TSN Week journalist Oksana Rodionova. Let's watch.
We're meeting with the 13th. He is the commander of the special unit of the main intelligence directorate. He was in charge of the most audacious operation in human history, and we are the only journalists with whom he agreed to meet after the historic aerial naval battle. The 13th is his call sign, hence the name of his unit, Group 13. These are their drones. Magura sank the large landing ship Caesar Kunikov, the missile boat Ivanovets, and the landing craft Cerna. In total, there are 9 enemy boats sunk and 6 damaged. And this week, they opened the count of the helicopters sunk. On the night of December 31st, a swarm of Ukrainian drone boats, Magura V5, equipped with unique armaments, set out on a hunt for an incredible target.
Specifically for this operation, we didn't have the usual task of hiding from the aviation. We were specifically going out to hunt aerial targets. We were full of inspiration to meet the enemy.
The Russians took the bait. After the lightning-fast attacks of the Magura drones on Russian ships, the enemy is forced to patrol the coastline around the clock with aviation, which has been shooting down from above with impunity until now. Our drone boats?
They spotted us, we started to work. The maximum we had purely in terms of helicopters around us, that's 3 helicopters at once. Despite the Su-25s that were flying around.
In the area of Cape Chersonesus, right here, 15 kilometers from Sevastopol, on December 31st, a swarm of modified sea drones engaged in battle with the Mi-8.
You understand a helicopter is quite fast if you can already see it on the camera. Just a few minutes to get into a favorable position and launch.
Group 13 managed to swiftly accomplish the task with a star.
Parshir. My first launch was right at the target. We didn't understand what happened, even though he was shooting down the traps. And then, after some time had passed, we received confirmation of the destruction of the second one, and in total we had 2 destroyed and 1 damaged.
The battle between the Russian Mi-8s and the Ukrainian Maguras ended with a score of 3-0. In our favor, even though the enemy Mi-8 was actively using heat traps, it didn't save him. The launched missile did not react to them. There was a bang, I got hit. The pilot of the 3rd helicopter reported in shock.
And the first one came straight at me and exploded somewhere nearby. I felt from the helicopter that some systems had failed. The hydraulic system was still nervous. The autopilot shut down.
Russia, however, remained silent about the loss of aircraft with crews. Later, a blogger wrote, "We haven't lost so many. Eliminating crews is key."
We haven't lost so many good guys at once since 2022.
The elimination of professional crews is indeed more important. Helicopter losses? Russia does not acknowledge it. There is no counteraction to such a decision.
And now, an analysis of the operational situation on the Kupiansk and Lyman fronts. The situation here is traditionally tense to the limit. On the Kupiansk front, the enemy throughout the day, they tried to advance towards our positions 5 times. In the areas of Zakhidny Kucherovka, Petropavlivka, and Zarizovoy, the aggressor has also increased the number of attacks to 12 on T, the Lyman front. With air support, they attacked near the settlements, Zeleny Gai, Borovskaya, Andreevka, Kopanki, Verdoklebova, Makevka, Grekovka, and Ivanovka. 9 clashes are currently ongoing. And now, Kursk region, the armed forces of Ukraine are attacking from 3 directions. And by the way, an entire battalion of North Koreans has already been destroyed. And now Kim's soldiers are hiding in the homes of civilians using them as human shields. At the same time, there is information that the armed forces of the Russian Federation are preparing their counterstrike in the Kursk region. We have gathered exclusive information about what is happening on the territory of the Russian Federation. In fact, we present to your attention
a fiery start to the year. The offensive of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Kursk and Belgorod regions continues. In Kursk, for example, it was very loud again. Russian propagandists claim that the explosions related to the operation of the Russian air defense are due to a drone attack. There was a massive attack from several directions at once. Drones also attacked 3 settlements in the Belgorod region. On January 5th, the armed forces of Ukraine launched a new offensive in the Kursk region. The defense forces unexpectedly attacked the Russian occupiers in several directions.
The situation under Sudzha on December 5th. January, it's heavy. The enemy has broken through.
The hysteria in Russian social media is an opportunity for the Ukrainian defense forces to advance directly towards Hilhiv and accordingly Rylsk. And this accordingly, in the opinion of the Russians, will lead to significant territorial losses and consequently the expansion of the presence of the armed forces of Ukraine.
According to the Institute for the Study of War, Ukrainian forces have advanced in the fields to the southwest and south of the Berdyn hamlet in the Kursk region and have entered the southern part of the settlement. There are significant tactical successes of our defenders there.
Key wins by our troops. Focus on intensified Ukrainian defense efforts of our defenders. In addition, we should mention that the second direction where the Ukrainian defense forces have intensified their efforts is in the area of the settlement of Leonidovo. It is located southeast of Korenevo. It's in the area of the settlement of Leonidovo. It is located southeast of Korenevo. In addition, the Ukrainian defense forces carried out an intensified mechanized attack in the area of Putkarny, which is to the east of Sudzha. So as we can see, the main task of the Ukrainian defense forces is to expand the foothold of Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region. Russian social media themselves are already confirming the presence of Ukrainian defense units in Cherkasky, Porekhne, Martinovka, and Mikhailivka. These settlements are located to the northeast of Sudzha.
According to Russian channels, armored vehicles, demining machines, and electronic warfare systems are involved in the offensive, which are successfully countering Russian drones.
The offensive of the armed forces of Ukraine, specifically the mechanized groups, is carried out with the support of electronic warfare systems, which effectively nullify the ability of Russian troops to strike on Ukrainian armored vehicles using IPV drones. The only thing that can work are drones on fiber optics.
The Russians definitely did not expect this attack from the Ukrainian forces, so the recent events caught the enemy off guard.
According to the Russian occupation forces, they doubt that this is the main direction of the strike. More is expected. They doubt that this is the main direction of the strike. More is expected. Let's say the expansion of the presence of the Ukrainian defense forces on the territory of the Russian Federation at several potential points. It also mentions the junction of the Kursk, Belgorod, and Bryansk regions. The possibility of a breakthrough by the Ukrainian defense forces in other regions of the Russian Federation is being discussed. This concerns the Belgorod and Bryansk regions of the Russian Federation. We're talking about the Belgorod and Bryansk regions.
Nevertheless, Kadyrov's group, led by Aptia Laudinov, in their latest address, claims that the situation is under control.
I think that the enemy may continue to try to push through here. But I believe they have no chances, because the guys are really fighting heroically.
There is objective control data that confirms the destruction of 4 armored vehicles with personnel from the Akhmat unit. Armored vehicles. With the personnel of the Akhmat unit, this is what is being kept silent. Abdiel Loginov.
Meanwhile, North Korean soldiers in the Kursk region are hiding in the homes of Russians who are being forced out into the streets. How events will unfold in the Kursk region will be shown by time. One thing is for sure, it won't be easy for the Russians.
And now about another horrific chapter of this war, written by terrorist Putin's Russia, Zaporizhia. Around 4 p.m. on Wednesday, January 8th, the invaders attacked the industrial infrastructure in Zaporizhia with 2 missiles. Public transport and residential buildings were also hit by the shelling. A whole series of explosions rang out in the city. As a result of the strike, 13 people were killed, 120 injured, including a child. The details gone of this hell will be told and shown by KTSN journalist Kira Ovis.
At this place, at the forward.
At this place, there was real hell the day before. Burning cars, damaged taxis, trams and houses shattered and on fire. In every direction, there were injured people, and in the first moments, medics, police and rescuers rushed to help them.
The number of injured was very high, so they had to be evacuated not only by ambulances but also by civilian and official transport. Police, rescuers, as well as volunteers and just concerned citizens helped out, who were bringing the injured to hospitals, where they were already receiving qualified assistance. Emergency rescue operations were carried out in 2 directions. The first is providing assistance to the injured. The second direction is the elimination of the actual fire site. Rescuers extinguished the fire in 27 civilian vehicles. There was a tram, and they also extinguished the fire in the building.
Russian terrorists deliberately struck civilians during the day, when people were just getting off work and going about their business. The moment the aerial bombs hit was captured by the dashcam of a car that was driving towards the impact. Shrapnel scattered everywhere. The blast wave blew out windows and walls. The city is on fire. Since early morning, municipal services and company workers have been working at the impact site. They are clearing away the shrapnel and glass. They are washing blood off the asphalt. Russian war criminals killed 13 people. A total of 13 were injured. Currently, there are 59 injured people in the city's hospitals, among them 10 in serious condition.
And now an analysis of the operational situation on the Kurakiv and Vremivka fronts. The enemy continues their military terror. And here, fierce battles are taking place in the Kurakiv direction near Serebryanka, Andriivka, Petropavlivka, Kurakove, and Dakhne. Throughout the day, our defenders repelled 16 enemy attacks and 4 more clashes are ongoing. In the Vremivka direction, the aggressor attacked our defenders' positions 7 times. In the areas of the settlements of Yantarna, Konstantinopol, and Razliv, 1 clash is still ongoing, Timirovka and Velika. Novosilka were hit by an airstrike. Also this week, the Russian occupation forces stormed the positions of the Ukrainian forces in Chasiv Yar and TETSK. The invaders destroyed some positions of the armed forces of Ukraine. At the same time, everyone understands perfectly well the colossal strategic significance. Destroyed, tormented, wiped off the face of the earth, the Sentry Ravine. This city cannot fall under the control of Putin's criminals. At the same time, the enemy is conducting constant assaults, alternating them with drops of extremely powerful aerial bombs. How are they holding the defense in the very heart of the war in Chasiv Yar? Our defenders. This is exactly what the next story by TSN correspondent Alexander Zahorodny is about.
The reconnaissance drone of the 24th Separate Mechanized Brigade unemotionally records the dead quarters. What is striking is not only the scale of the destruction, but also the obsessive desire of the Russians to seize these ruins. Almost a year of constant assaults, and for the first time in history, they have constructed a mesh tunnel over the entire road between Bakhmut and Chasiv Yar, which is more than 10 kilometers.
The sky is swarming with drones, and the main road leading here is now completely covered with nets. It creates a mesh corridor inside of which even a bird can't get in.
In this propaganda piece, the Russians reveal yet another big secret about why they are losing thousands of their fighters in the battles for Chasiv Yar. Yet thousands of his fighters?
We're just a little bit away from the center, where, by the way, the Joseph Kobzon Museum is located. and nearby is the hospital where the people's artist was born.
Constant assaults are alternating with the dropping of extremely powerful aerial bombs. How can they hold the defense in Chasov Yar? Our fighters. We're heading to this city, of course, at night and accompanied by fighters who bring, as they say, supplies to the front lines.
Gasoline, trench candles, water.
We're heading to the roof with the rap music, but also with the lights on. Enemy drones often drop mines on the road. It's better to see them and avoid them. And here, just a few hundred meters from the front line, we're racing with our headlights off and at maximum speed. A few minutes to unload and then everyone hides deep underground. At this position of the 24th Brigade, there are two commanders, Kyla and a lawyer. Both are carefully watching the video feed from the drones and keeping in touch with the fighters. The enemy has recently chosen a new tactic. They constantly attack in small groups, often consisting of 2 assault troops. All these groups need to be identified and destroyed. They rely on their equipment. All these groups need to be identified and destroyed.
On their equipment, it's still hard for them to reach us. But it's the infantry, you know, they just give the impression of having endless resources. For them, losing a day is nothing. Unit.
The main question for the lawyer is, will the 24th Brigade be able to hold Chasov Yar under this enemy pressure?
Right now, Avdiivka is already in ruins. The city is gone, just like what happened with Bakhmuta. The price of the issue, if for every square meter Russians continue to pay 10-15 of their good Russians, we will keep it.
If they ask us for such a price, I don't see the point. The lawyer, a former combat medic, knows well the cost that this war demands. Dozens of people have passed through me who could have become casualties.
Dozens of people have passed through me who could have become casualties. If someone has a poorly assembled first aid kit, the combat medic gets a slap on the wrist. If someone doesn't know how to apply a tourniquet, they won't make it to the position.
And the commander saved Sanich's life when he was already saying goodbye to it. And the enemy drones were supposed to finish him off.
I was injured and my partner had broken legs.
But there was a feeling that everything could end badly.
Yes, of course it would have ended, but then, as the commander told us, there's a good plan. We're on Baga. In general, that's how we were saved.
Military rules require that the wounded are evacuated only on armored vehicles. The lawyer shows his, it doesn't even have a windshield? This is a homemade buggy that makes its way into hell every time. In this basement, the fighters are resting and drying their clothes while the commanders are waiting to give the order to move to the front lines. Russian stormtroopers are once again going to look for the Kobzon Museum. Where to?
We still don't know where, for the mission.
But the defenders of the Sentry Ravine know for sure that this party of occupiers will also go straight to Kobzon's concert.
And now let's talk about how the long-suffering Ukrainian Kherson is suffering from enemy attacks. All week, the Kremlin's Inhumans have been terrorizing the townspeople with guided bombs. Of course, there are dead and wounded. Then the Russians dropped explosives from a drone. 2 men, aged 65 and 67, were taken to the hospital from the suburbs with mine blast injuries and shrapnel wounds. The details of this life on the brink of death, materials from our colleagues at the television news service.
Kherson, Mykolaiv Highway, once a bustling area of the city. An ambulance is picking up the wounded. The Russians almost killed him with that drone. And this is a residential neighborhood in Kherson. An enemy shell exploded in the yard between the apartment buildings.
One explosion, yes. We were sitting by the window and it blew out.
Here there were no casualties, but windows are shattered everywhere. There are holes in the walls. There are holes in the walls. It's all gone. This window, it's not there.
This window is completely gone. There's none in the kitchen. Balconies, there are holes in the walls. They just moved here from the east, because their house was destroyed there.
People are cleaning up the destruction, while explosions continue to sound outside. This man was in the kitchen when it hit the room. I was in the kitchen.
I was in the kitchen and then there was this loud bang. But I understand that the whole wave went into this room and the bedroom. If I were here, it would definitely be scary.
His neighbor wanted to go outside, but she hesitated.
He says, come on, get ready, let's go outside. He says, come on, get ready, let's go outside. We didn't make it. Let's finish walking, then we'll go outside. I was sitting, and he was standing on that side. And then we ran here.
A few hours after the strike, they are already patching up the windows here. And the military administration workers are further explaining to the victims what to do next.
Document it, Dia, you have it. Document what property of yours is damaged. Take photos. Don't delete the photos while we are at war.
Meanwhile, passengers from the minibus hit by a Russian drone continue to arrive at the hospital. The day before, a city council employee was killed. 9 people were injured. The day before, a city council employee died there. 9 people were injured. The condition of 2 of them is extremely serious. This is already the 3rd bus destroyed by the Russians in the New Year week.
Well, now we move to the blazing Pokrovsk front. The Russian world continues to destroy and kill here as well. In the Pokrovsk direction, the enemy initiated clashes of varying intensity 31 times. Our defenders repelled 20 enemy attacks in the areas of the settlements of Baranovka, Mirolyubovka, Elizavetovka, Luch, Lisovka, Zelenoe, Zverevo, Novy Trud, Pokrovsk, Kotlina, Uspenovka, Novovasilievka, and Novo-Elizavetovka. Right now, there are still 11 clashes ongoing. Yes, shelling of Pokrovsk has intensified, although it seemed like it couldn't get any worse. The occupiers are less than 3 kilometers from the city. This is reported by the military administration. Despite all this horror, there are still 7,200 people left in the city. Despite the lack of electricity, gas, and water supply, which stopped last summer, and in spite of the hellish conditions, several pharmacies are still operating in the city. The city hospital, albeit in a limited capacity, and a few stores. Detailed situations in Pokrovsk, journalist SN Alexander Zagorodny will tell and show.
The road to Pokrovsk goes through the enemy-destroyed Konstantinovka. We stop at a gas station, but it's not working. A few minutes ago, there was an explosion nearby.
The shrapnel didn't reach us, only stones fell from the roof. See, it hit. All the houses are destroyed. Here it comes. It hit, that's why everything got blown out.
Closer to Pokrovsk, we observe the battle in the information field. If a month and a half ago the Russians were advancing here, it seems that now Ukraine has taken the initiative. In the radio broadcast, Russian prisoners are urging their comrades to surrender as well.
The best option. The best option is to surrender because Ukraine will feed you, will keep you warm, and then even return you home.
However, alarming news is coming from Pokrovsk itself, as if the enemy has approached within 2 kilometers of the city, and the only road to Pokrovsk is already under heavy fire. The enemy destroyed this stele at the entrance to Pokrovsk in the first days of the new year. Many have started saying that this means entering the city itself has become dangerous. No, doesn't mean anything. They are restoring the stele. But in the city itself, people are practically nowhere to be seen. They are hiding from shelling and enemy drones that are constantly hovering overhead. People are nowhere to be seen, and abandoned animals are ready to follow anyone they see, especially the dogs. Although there are still a few people in the city. This is Vladimir Samoylenko. We met him on the empty central street, the heavily wounded city. There's no water, no heating, no electricity. And what is there?
What's there? There are people.
We have an unexpected request for Vladimir to help find a house in Pokrovsk. The man smiles and immediately agrees. Vladimir Evgenievich and I are heading to the music college where Leontovich taught and created. Is it somewhere around here?
We arrived just over the fence. We need to jump.
Well, okay, let's go. Let's go. It turns out that Vladimir Samoylenko knows the biography of composer Nikolai Leontovich very well.
The whole world sings, yes, the whole world sings, but do you know when he was writing Shkedrik during a very sad time? His daughter was dying while he was composing it.
The music college, the primary school, the water supply area, the railway station. The authorities seem to have planned to open a museum here, but they didn't manage to.
Chavritsky has arrived. The investigators will tell you what.
Researchers insist that it was right here in Pokrovsk that Leontovich wrote the second version of his famous Shkedrik, and perhaps these first chords were played right behind these walls. After all, it was here that he taught music to local children, and perhaps these first chords were played right behind these walls. After all, it was right here that he taught music to local children. This is the former music college. We are defending Pokrovsk, partly to preserve the memory of our Shkedrik. Masha, be happy.
Now let's move to the Kramatorsk and TETSK directions of the front. The bloody bacchanalia of the enemy army continues. In the Kramatorsk direction, the enemy attacked 7 times near Chasovoy Yar and Stupochki. All attacks have already been repelled. Meskaya was subjected to an airstrike, guided bombs. The enemy also attacked near Klishivka. In the TETSK direction, the occupiers stormed our defenders' positions 11 times today. to be continued in the areas of the settlements Toretsk, Belyagora, and Sherbinovka. In addition, 3 bombs were dropped on Konstantinovka and Toretsk. As you have already seen today, Ukrainian sea drones Magura destroyed 2 Russian helicopters over the Black Sea on the night of December 31st. After that, interestingly, the number of enemy flights over the water area decreased. And right now, an exclusive piece about how Ukraine has revolutionarily transformed the kamikaze sea drones Mogorova 5 into a drone for air defense systems. And this yielded truly impressive results. All the details are in the report by TSN Week journalist Oksana Rodionova.
For the first time in history, a flying helicopter was shot down using a sea drone. Just like we once built our tactics from scratch, now we need to build them anew because no one knows the right way, and there's nowhere to learn or read about it. No one can train you. We're writing the book again.
Ukraine has revolutionarily transformed the kamikaze sea drones Mogorov E5 into a drone for air defense systems. And this yielded impressive results.
Currently, they are equipped stabilized large-caliber machine guns and drones that can launch from this platform similar to a sea base. This is the coolest solution for adapting these platforms to destroy aerial targets, like from a sea base. And finally, this is the coolest solution for adapting these platforms to destroy aerial targets. This marks a new chapter in the use of sea platforms.
Ukrainian engineers, in tandem with specialists from the main intelligence directorate, equipped the Sea Drone with a modified Sea Dragon launcher and adapted a Soviet air-to-air missile, the P-73. Air-to-air missile has a range of up to 40 kilometers and a warhead weight of about 8 kilograms.
Yes, all of this is made in Ukraine. The aircraft carries 2 P-73 missiles. Are we going to increase that number? But maybe those thoughts exist. It's not exactly a missile, but the system has been refined to carry out target strikes.
The Magura marine drones have evolved. The operator controlling the boat can be anywhere on the planet. About 3 times.
About 3 times. Our capabilities have improved regarding weather conditions, power reserve, and in general the quality of the product and the possibilities for equipping it. I hope that soon we will break the numbers with the aircraft.
The production of marine Maguras has been successfully streamlined, and this air-sea operation will become a Ukrainian standard just like our winged drones do. This Saturday, UAVs reached Russia's second-largest commercial port, Ust-Luga, not far from St. Petersburg, which is more than 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine. They targeted an oil terminal that plays a key role in the export of Russian oil, gas, and coal after the sanctions were imposed. And on Tuesday night, dozens of our drones attacked a Rosneft oil depot in Smolensk. It's still burning. In short, it burned well. Locals counted 10 explosions. 2024, more drones, more targets hit.
Indeed. Year 2024 has recorded an increase in the production capacity of long-range strike drones. An increase in the targets being destroyed on enemy territory, which is a symbiosis of good reconnaissance capabilities and planning resources for destroying enemy targets.
Such a symbiosis has brought good results in Kursk. Strike on the 8th or 10th Brigade of the Russian Marine Corps. That was when the award ceremony was taking place. The Marines from Sevastopol were supposed to be a trump card in the battles against Sunakurchina. And it's not even been a week. How we hit the command post of that brigade in Olhiv. This year, strikes by modernized Magura naval platforms, as well as Ukrainian long-range drones, should also strengthen Ukrainian missiles. In 2025, they plan to produce at least 30,000 long-range drones, and about 3,000 cruise missiles and drone missiles. Our fields will show their worth on the battlefield. It's cold. And not just that, in the New Year's address, the president hinted at the launch of something that flies very far.